Today's episode is one of the most important conversations we've ever had, you guys. Because businesses don't fail from a lack of talent, they fail from a lack of leadership. And specifically, they fail when there is no strong operator. And so today we're going to talk about what an operator really is, why every salon needs one, the dangers of owner absent businesses, and what happens when a coaching company tells you to just make everyone an owner. And this is going to be bold and it's going to help your salon win.
Yeah, because you can have the best brand, the cutest space, the most talented team, but if no one is operating the business shrewdly, it will fall apart. And shrewdly means, wisely, cleverly, in a careful way, using good judgment and thinking ahead. Because salons don't run on vibes, they run on systems. And actually the word operator means one who carries on business shrewdly. So let's pause there because that means, carries on the business. They show up consistently. And shrewdly means they have clear eyes, clear math. There's no fantasy involved. So an operator isn't, someone who's emotional. They don't take things personally. They see the business like a pilot sees a plane. They see the gauges, the dashboard, the weather patterns, fuel, the altitude. And their job is simple: keep everyone safe, get everyone to the destination, grow the business so people win. Because the best business models are designed so the most people win. Not just the owner, not just the star stylist, not just the person with the biggest personality, but everyone who participates. And before we go deeper, I want to share a story about a business locally that just shut down. Back in the day in like the early 2000s, there was a couple little hot spots in our town that everybody loved to go to, and they were owned by a couple of brothers, actually. And anyway, they ended up selling out part of the company to another business owner in town who had sold a business for multi-million dollars, thinking that they would get some systems in place, but what happened was there were some missing components in the middle, like the operator, because this business, it changed ownership over the years. They kind of slowly stepped out of it. And there wasn't ever that strong operator because eventually that one owner just bought out the other shares of the guys. And there wasn't a strong operator in place. So this last one of their businesses that was still remaining open just shut down. And what it taught me was that the owner wasn't present. There was no strong operator present that knew that they were on that mission, like we just talked about, like a pilot is. And really something that once had the greatest potential. They were known for their loud music and spicy food, or their spicy music and loud food, which I loved that. It totally dissolved because the leadership disappeared. And that story breaks my heart because look around your town. You'll see salons or spas or restaurants or boutiques or other small businesses that don't make it. And it's rarely because they weren't talented or they weren't busy or they didn't have great people. It's because there was no one steering the ship. No one was looking at the systems. Nobody was developing people. No one was carrying the mission forward. Leadership was absent and operations were abandoned. And what that does, or what happens, is entropy wins, chaos wins. Because the business doesn't close just overnight. It just slowly unravels until one day the lights all go off.
Man, such a good story. Thank you for sharing that, Lindsay. It's really, really inspiring. I think of businesses that same thing in my town, that exact same thing happened to. So great story.
Mhm.
Because like when you think about it, let's get into something that we're hearing from other salon coaching companies. Because right now, if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There are some coaching companies right now that are telling you just make service providers owner. Give them shares, make them shareholders. That sounds sexy, right? You would think so. It truly is great marketing. I'll give you that. But let me ask you this question. If someone is mad, wanting to leave, or not aligned with the values, and you make them an owner, you guys, do you think that makes them more aligned? Heck no, like absolutely not. It actually just makes them more entitled
Mm.
because if their motivation is truly money and you hand them ownership, you've now created chaos in a contract. Like you've created what some people are proud to call golden handcuffs.
Mm.
It's like, it looks like commitment, it feels like partnership, but it's actually the opposite because now they're not truly loyal. They don't operate the business, they don't empower people to use the systems, and they cannot be coached. They just expect a profit check now. And at the end of the day, it truly gets worse because there are also coaching companies who are saying 1099 your people and make them owners. Have you seen that, Liz? I know you have because we talked about it, right?
Yes. It's
I think it says
insane.
booth rent sucks, commission sucks. I don't even know it. Down with the commission, down with the booth rent. Like
Mhm.
share your profits, everyone wins.
Mm. No, 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 no. This is like, oh man, when I see that, it's just like so shocking because this is actually the worst model of them all. Because legally, when you do something like that, you cannot enforce systems for a 1099 contractor. They can come and go as they please. You cannot require any additional training. You cannot dictate the dress code. You can't require branding consistency. So now imagine this: there's no rules, no standards, no agreements, no shared mission, just a group of people with ownership titles and zero accountability. That is truly a recipe for disaster. Not none of this is because people are bad, but this model is bad. Just because you give it a cute name, you shorten a strategy or whatever you call it, it doesn't mean it's a good business model. It might be great marketing. People are talking about it. It's creating some volatility, some lots of people talking about it, but it's horrible operationally, and it never helps people win long term. you know but there is a business model that everyone in our industry should be studying, and it's not another salon, it's not another coaching company, it's not a celebrity stylist. It's Chick-fil-A, because Chick-fil-A, they don't just have owners, they have owner operators. And this is important. They don't sell people a title, they develop people for a role. Chick-fil-A is very clear. Their owners are on site. Their owners are in the business. Their owners are in the training, the culture, the standards. They're not just collecting checks from a beach somewhere. Listen, this doesn't mean that you need to be working 60-hour weeks as a salon owner operator, but what they are showing us is they're working the business. They're building the people. They're operators first and owners second. And that model creates a completely different result.
It's so good because if you think about it, other fast food competitors that are competitors to Chick-fil-A, they will sell anyone a franchise. Like you get a franchise, you get a franchise. Like Oprah, it's like selling franchises if they have the money for the fee. You pay the money, you get the title. You pay the money, you get the title. Like there's no filter, no leadership standard, no operator. They just hope you'll figure it out. And that's why so many of these stories truly fail. Chick-fil-A absolutely does the opposite. Like to own a Chick-fil-A, like You need to be selected. You need to be trained. Like most people that are Chick-fil-A owners started at the bottom, or not even the bottom. They started as cashiers or I don't even know what they would have there, but cashiers, janitors, whatever. And then they work their way to the top. Like because they believe that you need to be trained, you need to be developed, you need to be present, like you need to be an operator. And they truly, like, if you think about it, we did the research and they turn away thousands of applicants every year because they aren't looking for someone who just wants profit. They aren't looking for someone that just wants profit. They're looking for someone who wants people to win. And then they build a system around you so that your people win. And that's truly why Chick-fil-A has the highest revenue per store when it comes to fast food, why they have the highest retention, the most consistent guest experience, and the longest lines every single day. Even though, you guys, if you remember, they're not open on Sundays, they don't sell alcohol, they don't discount food, they don't run flash sales or coupons. So if you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, how do they do it? It's very simple. It's actually they grow people. Chick-fil-A has a farm system. If you think about it, like you can literally start as that high school kid working the fryer. And if you show that heart, that hunger, that humility, they will begin growing you through like management, leadership, culture, systems, all the way up to the opportunity to become an operator. And you do not buy a Chick-fil-A, you become a Chick-fil-A owner or operator. And this is exactly what Salons needs.
Yeah. It's when you said started from the bottom, it made me think of that song, started from the bottom, now we here.
Now we here.
And, I started at the front desk in our salon company. And so I love this model, not because I think that that's the only way. I think you can start out as an owner, but if you don't have that mindset, then it's just going to combust because not the model that doesn't work is where everybody gets shares or everyone is an owner or 1099 people and hope that it works because they're owners now, and then golden handcuff people so that they don't leave once they get to a certain level. No, because that model is confusion, and people don't win by being given a title, because that's all for ego. That's for the show. That's not really for the dough. They win by being groomed, by being coached, by being grown into a role. And you grow leaders by developing people, not by equally distributing equity. Because here's the truth. The salon industry needs fewer owners and more operators. We need leaders on site, people who are invested, people who know the systems, people who build culture, people who coach others, people who care more about the mission than the profit. Because that is how guests win. That's how team members win. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that's how the business wins. Because systems create safety, and safety creates growth, and growth creates profit. And it always happens in that order.
Lindsay, it reminds me, we like to experience blowouts when we travel. And I remember the blowout at a very high-end, probably well-known hair salon. We both went in for blowouts. And do you remember you got taken back right away? Same time, we had the same appointment time. Yes. And I waited for like 45 minutes. You could tell there was no leadership there. And then somebody comes running out the back and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were put on my schedule at the last minute. I had just run to Sam's to collect some stuff. So it was like, wow, okay. But you can tell, like in Chick-fil-A's, you can tell their systems being followed because they have those operators. Like we could tell in those moments, or most of the salons that we visit to just experience a blowout, like they don't have those, operators. Because when you think about it, like most people are just saying, just give them shares, make them owners. That's what I've been taught before in the past. And you have to think, well, Chick-fil-A doesn't do it that way. They have the most successful franchise model in the entire country because they understand that ownership is responsibility. It's not entitlement. And that responsibility, again, is called the operator.
Yeah. Jen, I think what's standing out to me are one of the other companies that says it best is the owner of the Savannah Bananas. And he says, people come first, not profits. Because when people win, the profit follows. And, this is the secret. We are so solid in what we provide that we know our people cannot earn more anywhere else. It's not because we guilt them or because we control them. It's not because we handcuff them. It's because we help them win. We help our guests win. We invest in systems that win. And a true owner or operator understands profit is a byproduct of doing the right thing. When you serve people well, when you build great systems, when you create massive value, money flows. That's why Zig Ziglar said, help enough people get what they want, and you'll get what you want too. And Jen, I love when you say systems help ordinary people get extraordinary results. It's one of my favorite things that you say, Jen.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so true. If you think about it, systems help ordinary people get extraordinary results. That's why people in team-based commission salons that are run well can get to six figures in 3 to 5 years,
Mhm.
including their training time, because it's helping just regular people get extraordinary results. So I love that. And if you're listening, you're thinking, Jen and Lindsay, like we don't have systems. Like we truly got you at the end of the day, guys, because inside of one of our programs, like we are taking beauty pros and turning them into six-figure income earners in under 5 years. It's not by giving them shares. I promise it's not. It's not by making them 1099 owners. It's not by golden handcuffing them. It's by building their confidence, by teaching them leadership, by helping them serve guests better, by developing their sales skills, by creating that culture of excellence, and finally helping them see that they can only achieve all of this by working together as a team. And that's what an operator does. An operator truly cares more about the people than the profit. And as a result of that, the profit comes.
Yeah. So if you're listening right now and you're thinking, I know I need systems, I know I need to be doing more training for the people that I care about on my team, and I know I could use some leadership, go ahead and text the word PRO, PRO, to 469 283 5590. And we'll send you the details on how we're turning beauty pros into six-figure earners inside salons just like yours. We're doing all of the work, giving you back all of your time that you would have spent, teaching them so that they really can show up differently inside of the world, because the world needs more operators, not more owners, not more shareholders, not more golden handcuffs, but more leaders, people who show up, people who carry on business shrewdly, and people who want the most people to win. And you're that person, and we're here to help. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Salon Success Secrets. Share this with a salon owner who needs encouragement or a reminder that leadership matters. And remember, businesses fail from a lack of leadership, not a lack of talent. Be the operator or have an incredible operator on your team. We'll see you next week.